how to select the potency, when to administer the remedy, when to administer a remedy in high potencies, and when to give them in low potencies are definitely few questions which haunts the mind of every homeopathic student. So here we are to answer all these questions with our video. So guys, welcome back to our channel. Our today's video is on the same topic, homeopathic posology, wherein we will try to answer all your doubts regarding it. Now since this video contains a detailed information regarding posology, it can be a slightly lengthy video, and so please do watch this video till the end. Also guys, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel, and also hit the bell icon to get notified about our content. So without wasting much more time, let's get started. So guys, the very first thing to understand is what is posology. Now posology is a word derived from the two words, that is posos meaning how much and logos meaning study. Thus posology is the study of how much, that is quantity of doses that have to be administered to a patient. And thus posology broadly includes three things: selection of potency, time to administer, and third is the repetition of the remedy. Now in this video we will have a look at all these three aspects in a great detail, and thus this video can be a bit lengthy. Now before diving into the three aspects, first let's understand the basic principles of homeopathic posology laid down by Dr. Samuel Hahnemann. So the first law is the law of single remedy. According to Dr. Hahnemann, in each and every case, a homeopathic practitioner should prescribe only a single remedy at a time, and then after determining the response to it, we should think of either administering the same remedy again or changing the remedy. Now this is because if two remedies are prescribed or are given at the same time, then it becomes difficult for the physician to understand which remedy has acted or which has not. Apart from this, a mixture of two or more remedies or two homeopathic remedies always acts in a heterogeneous manner, and thus the final outcome of this cannot be predicted. Second law is the law of minimum doses. After the discovery of potentization, Dr. Samuel Hahnemann advocated the use of minimum doses based on his past experience of unnecessary aggravation when he used to give high doses. Now minimum dose is often confused with infinitesimal dose, but minimum dose does not mean extremely small dose, and rather it means that quantity of medicine which is enough to just generate a response or to stimulate the vital force. The next important or the last one is the law of minimum repetition. Now on the same lines of law of minimum doses, the repetition of the minimum doses should also be minimum and just to stimulate the vital force. So now based on these three basic principles of posology, let's understand three things, that is selection of potency, time to administer, and third is the repetition of remedy. The first important of these three is the selection of potency. So to select the potency, the first thing we should do or we should know are what are the various different types of potencies. So these various potencies are broadly divided into centesimal scale, decimal scale, LM scale potencies. But in this video we are only going to focus on the centesimal scale potencies, as LM scale potencies in itself is a very big topic, and if you wish to know about them, then comment down and we will surely bring a video on it. So guys, centesimal potencies are basically divided into low and high potencies. Now low potencies include 3C, 6C, 30C and 200C, while the high potencies include 1M, 10M, 50M and CM potencies. Any indicated remedy can be prescribed in any of these above mentioned potencies. So here the main question which arises is how to select a potency, or what are the indications and contraindications for high potencies as well as for low potencies. So the basic potency selection depends upon the following points. The first one is susceptibility. Now this is the very first point which our potency selection is broadly or completely based upon. Now susceptibility in simple terms is the ability or the vulnerability of a person to get any disease, and this completely depends upon various factors like age, sex, constitution or personal habits or environmental factors or past treatments taken for a condition, etc. If you want to have a separate video on this topic, that is susceptibility, let us know in the comment section below. Now so based on susceptibility, there is a general rule that higher the susceptibility, lower is the actual medicinal substance required, and hence higher is the potency required. That is, if a person is having a high susceptibility, then he too receives high potencies and vice versa. The next is intensity of the disease. Now this is another factor which tells us or guides us about potency selection, wherein when the person has intense suffering, most probably are those cases which are pathologically advanced and thus they require low potency. While when the next important is the types of diseases or disease changes and the level of the disease. Now, when the diseases are at a functional stage, that is when there are only disturbances in some functions of the body, we can use higher potencies, but when there are structural changes, it is better to use low potencies. The next important point in potency selection is the degree of similarity of the selected homeopathic medicine. Now, if a remedy is selected on the basis of one or two symptoms, then we should try using low potencies, and if the selected remedy is similar to the physical symptoms also, then remedy should be given or should be prescribed in the lower potencies. However, if the remedy is selected on the basis of mental symptoms, then the higher potencies are advisable to use. And the next important point is the nature of the drug in the crude state. That is, the medicines or the drugs which are either inert or are very violent in its action in the crude state, for example lachesis, then such remedies should be used in high potencies. And the last point is the duration of the complaints. Now, if the diseases are of acute type, then it is advisable to use higher potencies, and in chronic type of diseases, we can use higher or lower potencies. The next question is when to administer a remedy. Now, most oftenly, there is no such extremely specific rule for this, but yes, there are definitely few important guidelines which are as follows. Now, most remedies act really well when given at the bedtime. A remedy should not be administered either before or during the period of aggravation. Now, in the cases of intermittent fevers, remedy should be administered only when the fever paroxysm subsides and not during the presence of fever paroxysm. And now, in women, a remedy should not be prescribed for her menstrual troubles during her menses. And nosodes, intercurrents, or constitutional remedies should always be given before the acute attack or after the acute attack is over. And then finally we come to the last question, that is how frequently should we repeat a remedy? So the answer to this question clearly varies from experiences of every homeopath to homeopath. However, there are definitely few general rules that will help us to guide how frequently a remedy should be repeated. As soon as the desirable response is observed, repetition should be stopped. Example, if a person is relieved of his complaints by around more than 50%, then it is a clear indication to stop the repetition. Now, as long as this desirable response continues, there is no need to repeat. However, the only indication for repetition is the return of the symptoms that have disappeared under the action of a remedy. For example, if a patient is better for some complaint for a longer period of time and now is getting that complaint again, this is his time or this is the time to repeat a remedy again. However, these rules are sometimes modified or are differed in the acute and chronic cases. Thus, in acute cases, since the patient is in intense suffering, we should definitely try to repeat the remedy more oftenly to help the patient. But in chronic cases, we should restrict ourselves to single dose stimulation. However, when this fails, then and only then frequent repetition should be tried. Now, in chronic cases, we can also follow Dr. Kent's rule, that is, before shifting to the next potency of the same remedy, we must definitely try to repeat the same remedy in different repetitions and see whether it is working or not. So guys, this was all about posology which we could have told you. In this video, we have tried to cover all the points regarding posology. Also guys, this is definitely an important question from exam as well as from the clinical point of view. So guys, do not forget to like, share and subscribe and comment down your questions, feedback, as it motivates us to bring more and more such videos.